Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world is riveted as a Philippine Coast Guard vessel confronts a Malaysian patrol boat in the Sulu Sea, a region long known for its strategic importance and turbulent history. It's August 5, 2025. The waters appear deceptively calm, but beneath the surface, tension simmers. Ship horns blare across the waves and radios crackle with urgent warnings and terse commands, echoing the anxiety felt by everyone on board. Two ASEAN partners, once united by regional cooperation, now find themselves locked in a standoff over a centuries-old territorial dispute that refuses to fade away. This is no random encounter. It's the latest flashpoint in a conflict deeply rooted in questions of land, identity, and national pride. The Sulu Sea has witnessed countless confrontations, each one leaving scars that shape the present. For the crews aboard these ships, the tension is palpable. This is more than a political dispute. It's a matter of survival, as every decision could mean the difference between peace and escalation. In Manila, politicians take to the podium, their voices resolute as they demand the defense of Philippine sovereignty and the protection of their people's interests. Meanwhile, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysian officials stand firm, asserting their nation's rights and vowing not to back down in the face of external pressure. Across both countries, social media becomes a battleground. Nationalist hashtags trend, and heated debates erupt online, amplifying the sense of crisis and fueling passions on both sides of the border. The world watches with bated breath. Newsrooms buzz with speculation, and headlines warn of a possible tipping point. Is this the moment when Southeast Asia's fragile peace finally shatters? The confrontation is a stark reminder that history is never truly past. Old treaties, faded documents, and unresolved grievances continue to shape the present and cast long shadows over the future. Every maneuver is closely monitored by global powers like the United States and China, each with their own interests in the region. Their presence adds another layer of complexity and risk to an already volatile situation. Military analysts warn that a single miscalculation, a misunderstood signal, a stray shot, could trigger a chain reaction, drawing in nations far beyond the shores of Sabah and the Sulu Sea. The stakes are enormous. These waters are vital arteries for global trade, rich fishing grounds that sustain local communities, and home to untapped oil and gas reserves that could reshape economies. For the people living along these contested shores, especially in Sabah and the southern Philippines, the conflict is not just a headline, it's a daily reality that affects their livelihoods and sense of security. Families straddle the maritime border, their lives and relationships disrupted by military patrols, political rhetoric, and the ever-present threat of violence. Generations who once moved freely across these waters now find themselves caught in a geopolitical storm, their traditions and connections threatened by forces beyond their control. The increased military presence looms over daily life, making even routine activities fraught with uncertainty and fear. For many, the sea that once united now divides. Fear and uncertainty seep into every corner of these communities, turning neighbors into adversaries and casting a long, dark shadow over daily existence. The world waits, hoping that cooler heads will prevail before the Sulu Sea's tensions ignite into something far more dangerous. The Sulu Sea standoff is just the latest in a series of escalating incidents that have gripped the region in recent months. Tensions have been steadily rising, with each new confrontation adding to a growing sense of unease among those who depend on these waters. Filipino fishing boats are increasingly intercepted by Malaysian authorities, often accused of crossing invisible maritime boundaries. In response, the Philippines has ramped up its own patrols, sending more vessels to assert its presence and protect its citizens at sea. Each side tests the other's resolve, engaging in risky maneuvers and close encounters that fuel a dangerous cycle of provocation and retaliation. The risk of miscalculation grows with every incident. Malaysia has responded by upgrading its naval bases in Sabah, deploying advanced vessels and modern aircraft to reinforce its claims and secure its maritime borders. The Philippines matches these moves with new Navy frigates, state-of-the-art jets, and expanded coastal defense installations in the south, determined not to be outpaced in this regional arms buildup. This escalating arms race disrupts the daily routines of local fishermen who now find their traditional fishing grounds patrolled by warships. The once peaceful sea has become a militarized frontier where livelihoods are at risk. Fishermen now risk detention, harassment, or even violence as military hardware and armed patrols dominate the horizon, overshadowing the small boats that once freely roamed these waters. The human cost is felt most acutely by coastal communities. With empty docks and anxious faces, families worry about their future as their main source of income is threatened by forces beyond their control. What was once a region of shared heritage and cooperation has now become a zone of anxiety, suspicion, and division, leaving communities uncertain about what tomorrow will bring. The Sabah dispute is entangled in the wider South China Sea conflict. China's sweeping claims put it at odds with the Philippines, Malaysia, and others. The Philippines faces pressure from both China in the west and Malaysia in the south, stretching its resources. Malaysia too must balance its disputes with both the Philippines and China. ASEAN unity is at risk. A conflict between members only benefits Beijing. The Sabah issue is more than bilateral, it tests the credibility of ASEAN itself. A breakdown here would undermine regional diplomacy and embolden external powers. The stakes go beyond territory. They threaten the stability of all Southeast Asia. The world watches to see if ASEAN can resolve its own disputes or fall prey to division. To truly understand the roots of the Sabah dispute, we must journey back to the 19th century Sultanate of Sulu, a powerful maritime kingdom that once held sway over vast territories in Southeast Asia. The Sultan of Sulu ruled not only the Sulu archipelago, but also extended his influence over parts of present-day Sabah, commanding respect and authority across the region's seas and islands. In 1878, a pivotal moment occurred when the Sultan signed a deed with a British syndicate. This agreement granted the British rights over North Borneo in exchange for an annual payment, a deal whose interpretation would later become fiercely contested. For Malaysia, this document represented a straightforward transfer of sovereignty. However, for many Filipinos it was never a sale, but rather a lease, meaning the land was only temporarily ceded. After the turmoil of World War II, North Borneo became a British colony. Then, in 1963, it joined the newly formed nation of Malaysia, a move that would spark decades of diplomatic tension. The Philippines strongly objected to this incorporation, arguing that the British had no legitimate right to transfer Sabah, as the original agreement with the Sultanate was still in effect. For the heirs of the Sultanate, the 1963 incorporation was not just controversial, it was outright illegal, violating their ancestral rights and historical claims. The annual payment, which continued until 2013, is seen by many Filipinos as undeniable proof that the arrangement was a lease, not a sale, and that their claim remains valid. This long and complex history fuels a powerful sense of grievance and national identity in the Philippines, inspiring protests, debates, and passionate calls for justice. For many, the dispute is not just a matter of legal documents or treaties, it's deeply personal and emotional, touching the lives and memories of families with roots in Sabah and shaping the national consciousness to this day. The legal heart of the dispute was the 1878 agreement, a lease or a cession. The Philippines says the term pajakan means lease, so sovereignty was never transferred. Malaysia argues it means cession, a permanent transfer of territory. The annual payment is seen by the Philippines as rent. Malaysia calls it cession money. Malaysia points to self-determination. In 1962, most Sabahans chose to join Malaysia. For Malaysia, the issue is settled. For the Philippines, it remains an open wound. The disagreement over a single word has fueled decades of diplomatic friction. Each side clings to its narrative, making compromise elusive. The legal debate is far from academic, it shapes national policy and public sentiment. In 2013, the Sabah dispute turned deadly. Armed followers of the Sulu Sultanate landed in Lahad Datu, claiming ancestral rights. Malaysia saw it as an invasion, negotiations failed, and violence erupted. The month-long siege left dozens dead and shattered any illusion that the dispute was dormant. Malaysia responded with force, boosting security and hardening its stance. The Philippines faced embarrassment and loss of control over the Sultan's heirs. Malaysia halted annual payments, deepening the rift. The violence left a legacy of mistrust and bitterness. For Malaysia, Sabah's defense became non-negotiable. For the Philippines, the claim became even more sensitive. The scars of 2013 still poison relations today. Leadership styles shaped the conflict's trajectory. In the Philippines, populist rhetoric and nationalistic promises keep the Sabah claim alive, especially during elections. This stirs public passion but complicates quiet diplomacy. Policy shifts with each administration, creating uncertainty for Malaysia. Malaysia, by contrast, is consistent and firm. Sabah is non-negotiable. Public debate is avoided, the issue is handled through official channels and security measures. This disconnect breeds misunderstanding. What's domestic politics in Manila is a threat in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia's silence is seen as arrogance, Philippine statements as provocation. Even in calm times, tension simmers beneath the surface. The communication gap remains a major obstacle to peace. The Sabah dispute drives military upgrades on both sides. Malaysia fortifies Sabah with new bases, patrol boats, and fighter jets. The Philippines shifts focus to external defense, acquiring warships and missile systems. This arms race raises the risk of accidental conflict. More powerful weapons tempt leaders to take bolder stances. Resources spent on arms could address poverty in Sabah and the Sulu archipelago. Instead, the region is trapped in a cycle of militarization. Security comes at the cost of development and cooperation. The Sabah dispute is shaped by US-China rivalry. The US, allied with the Philippines, provides military aid, fueling modernization and suspicion in Malaysia. China, a major trading partner, exploits divisions to weaken ASEAN unity. A conflict between the Philippines and Malaysia would benefit Beijing, distracting from its own claims. Both powers add complexity, turning a local dispute into a proxy arena. The Philippines and Malaysia must balance ties with Washington and Beijing. Relying too much on outsiders risks losing control of their own fate. Great power involvement raises the stakes and complicates peaceful resolution. August 2025. Tensions are at a peak. Nationalism, military buildup, and recent incidents have created a tinderbox. A single misstep could ignite a conflict with regional consequences. The only way forward is diplomacy, but hardened positions make compromise difficult. Joint development or enhanced autonomy could offer creative solutions. International legal avenues are blocked unless both sides agree. Back-channel talks and confidence building are the best hope for now. The future depends on leaders' willingness to look forward, not back. The choice confrontation or dialogue, the fate of millions and regional peace, hangs in the balance.